What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy, and this is your co-host, Noir, Lil Bomber, and welcome to another episode of the Datascape. We're still doing the theme of the villains of Kingdom Hearts. It's going to be the third episode in our villains series of the Datascape, and the topic of today is the Master of Masters and the Fortellers. You could just say this is a Lost Masters episode. Where I think that like the Master and Lucio count as Lost Masters, right? Like Master literally said he's a Lost Master. Same with the Fortellers. So the Lost Masters episode, the epilogue of KH3, one of the best cutscenes in the entire franchise. I want to dive deep into their lore. I want to dive deep into their characters, a lot of key back cover, a lot of future predictions, because these are the upcoming villains of Kingdom Hearts, antagonists. And what's interesting about these guys being the antagonists is in key back cover, despite like the Forteller's quote unquote loyalty to the Master of Masters, they were very against darkness. Like, they're not for darkness at all. So these are going to be antagonists that aren't necessarily siding with the darkness or are siding against the light, but they're set up to be our next villains despite that. And it's very interesting. So we have the culmination of the Master's plan, Lucio like bequeathing the Keyblade to all the different characters, the Eye, the Fortellers harboring darkness inside of them, as we learned in Union Cross's finale, so that they can defeat darkness. Like, they're going to harbor the 6 or 7 strongest darknesses in their heart. There's a lot of interesting lore details with the Fortellers. You want to get us going, Noir?
Yeah, so honestly, there's something I want to call attention towards when you had said that like they're all very loyal to the master, but they're all very much against darkness. So it's funny because when you think about it, that kind of plays into how things were in back cover with how each of them was loyal to the master, right? There was no question on their loyalty and dedication to him, but they all disobeyed him in some way, thinking that that was the right way to go, right? Each one of them did what they weren't supposed to do because they thought it was the right move. Um,
Yeah.
like literally every single foreteller was guilty of that. Every single one of them. And so when I think about the foretellers being the villains, right? And then obviously there's darkness to consider. Well, I also want to think about how the the series has been recently playing with the idea, and frankly, this was stuff that they had been dropping since Chain of Memories, but they're really starting to hammer it home with like a lot of these more recent entries. It's like darkness isn't necessarily evil in itself. It's the people that misuse darkness that are the bad ones, right?
What
But
lurks
darkness,
within it.
yes, the darkness itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a necessary thing in the world, right? So to demonize the entire concept is very much a toxic way to go about having the world structured, because when you have very prejudiced views on darkness and just being so pro-light, anti-darkness, you get people like Ericus, right? And Ericus was all for that, and that ended up creating a whole lot of problems with not only his friends but his students,
Yeah,
right?
the
And
second he saw
so
an ounce of darkness in Terra, he was like, "You don't deserve to be Keyblade Master." He started being very harsh towards him, and Ericus started basically giving Aqua everything that Terra was trying to like achieve and push
he was
towards.
trying to
He,
prove
he
himself to that, but Ericus
yeah,
didn't want to give anything to him.
even though Aqua was deserving, and to give Ericus a little bit of flack here, because I I wasn't that crazy into Ericus before Dark Road, but like the way they characterized Ericus in Dark was really cool. Just I don't know. I love the lighthearted pro tag type character, so Ericus was definitely a lot of that in Dark Road. Um, Ericus, like what he did, probably wouldn't have been as bad, and I feel like he probably eventually would have had a talk with Terra or had some sort of intervention with Terra if like Xehanort wasn't just in his ear the entire time, when everything was going on. Because all that, like Terra being that vessel for Xehanort, like that was all calculated. That was something planned throughout time. But yeah, that is a fault of Ericus. Ericus is the extremist version of the light side, thinking light is just an absolute. He sees light as absolute. And with the foretellers, I don't I don't know if they're quite there because we know a little bit about the foreteller's own views. What back cover did, as critical as I am of key back cover, I thought the lore of it was great. I thought the characters of it were great, but the movie, the plot, a lot of things about that movie, it introduces a lot of ideas, but a lot of those ideas aren't complete yet. And that's something you could say about a lot of Kingdom Hearts, but that is especially the case with things like Key Back Cover. But the characters in Key Back Cover do not really give off the impression that they're light elitist. A lot of the time, I feel like their motivations is a lot of following, just kind of following the master. Like, it seems like they have complete and utter faith and trust in the master of masters at certain points. They do kind of like go out of his teachings, like with the Sed. Sed was the one who was definitely willing to stand up and lead, but that was also because the master kind of told him to. Everyone had this thing in key back cover where, well, that's my role. No, that's my role, and it's like the master purposely gave everyone roles that was super conflicting, and I
Well,
think
he
they
gave
called him
he
out.
gave them their roles, but then he gaslit them into doing something that would be counterproductive to what they needed to do.
I mean, yeah, but like a lot of them still ended up doing their roles in the end. They panicked when the master left because they didn't know if he was coming back. But Ava still did her role with the dandelions. Ased still tried to do his role by trying to stand up and lead when Ira wasn't able to handle it. Like the master literally told him that. Gula stuck to his role about the lost page. And even Envy stuck to her role about like just keeping an eye on everyone else. So like, they all stuck to their roles, but they all were conflicting each other, and they started to have a lot of problems among the foretellers. You don't really see a friendship among them. You could tell they're
No,
all,
and Gula's very clear. He's like, we're not friends.
yeah, like maybe Gula and Ala almost have something close to a friendship, but it doesn't really feel like, I don't know. That's a little left to be determined. Like we'll kind of see. Um, they don't show off that they care about each other much, but I guess that's something that we'll see develop over time. And the master's role in all of this, in this manipulation, like his manipulation is so interesting because when you compare it to a villain like Xehanort, who we talked about earlier this month, Xehanort was very calculated. Like he was manipulating you without you even realizing it. He had like seeds planted that you didn't even know about before characters were even born. Like he had plans like in place. He had chess pieces moving. The master, on the other hand, he kind of has a similar thing, but I feel like his manipulation seems so direct in key back cover. Like like it almost feels like the foretellers, like whenever the master says something that is so obviously questionable, he's just like, well, I know everything, so this is going to happen. Like he's so stern and so confident in things that will happen, and they do happen because the Book of Prophecies. They've seen things in the book. They know he wrote the Book of Prophecies, so it's just like
Well,
there's
yeah, that was basically it. Like he made it clear that he was so smart and so knowledgeable on so many other things that his his rap sheet was just unquestionable,
yeah,
right? And so,
it's like when you see those like memes sometimes on the internet, like when someone like a streamer or just anyone does anything like super silly and someone's like, ah, oh, they're actually a genius. It's like, that's the master, basically. It's like he could do the silliest thing ever, and the four toes be like, oh, that's so amazing. That's smart. You know what? Okay, I won't contest. That's just how it feels sometimes.
And so, like, something I think about when it comes to the foretellers is how would they respond, or how are they going to act around our protagonist, or how are they going to act when seeing the world in the state that it's in right now? How are they going to respond to seeing people like Riku, who is a good person? He is a Keyblade master through and through, but he does use darkness, right? Or you have other characters like Aqua, who is a Keyblade master, and while she doesn't use darkness, she has fallen to darkness. And then you have other characters that are more darkness based, right? And then you literally have Ventus, who is housing one of the 13 darknesses within himself. How are they going to respond to that? Because a thought that always comes into my head is that they're basically going to try and retake control of over like the whole world. They're going to try and set up a new system where they're once again like the top authority figures, and they're on top, right? And they will govern everyone. And obviously, people are not going to some people are probably not going to respond well to that. I know Riku probably wouldn't. I know Kyrie wouldn't. Um, just because, obviously when you think about it, like you would think like, oh, well, last time we left you guys in charge, you guys imploded the second your master went away, and then the world literally died.
You know, while you're saying that, I just had a thought. What if, even though they're set up to be antagonists, and they will be, like for KH4, right? The Lost Masters will be antagonists. I'm hoping we get data fights of the Lost Masters, man, or boss fights throughout the game, either or, right? Well, if they're data bosses, they'll have to be bosses throughout the game by, I guess, tradition. But what if we don't start their story? We don't start their dynamic like posts, like in Kingdom Hearts 4, with them as villains. What if Aced, Envy, Gula, Ira, like what if they actually befriend the Keyblade at first? The Keyblade would probably ask where the heck they came from, but what if, I don't know. Like I'm just thinking about that. Like, what if they went a different route with that instead of just presenting themselves as, "Oh, I'm a Sed and you kilo looters are bad. We have to beat you up or something." I don't know. Whatever is going to be some Kingdom Heartsy reason. But like, what if instead, like, a Sed takes a liking to someone like Terra. A Sed takes a Ira takes a liking to someone like Aqua, Xion, Roxas. Like, what if we actually have a kind of friendly like master dynamic because they're here now. Yen Sid will probably obviously suss all these elements out, but I think it'll be kind of interesting to have that dynamic, and then you see them befriend these lost masters who kind of came out of nowhere, and they learn from them, and then over time they become like the villains throughout the game because as more things start to unravel, like Lushu shows himself to the Keyblade Wielders, and it's like, wait, whoa, that's Zigbar. What the heck is going on here? And they reveal that Lushu's their friend and has been in front all along, and they're the Keelers are just like, whoa, okay, you guys are kind of weird because this guy is kind of weird too. I don't know, like I think a dynamic where we actually see them like maybe train together, learn from each other, kind of see these two generations sort of clash, but in a positive way for at least a little bit. I think that could be kind of interesting, but that's gonna probably come later because we talked about on stream, or not on stream, as we talked about. Well, yeah, on stream and before this, we record this episode. I personally, at least, think that the foretellers will eventually come to the Gardens of Light's side because they don't seem to be bad people. They seem to be very, I don't know if I'd say misguided, but I guess I'll use the word for now. Misguided characters, because you got Envy and Aced over here fighting, and it's only really because the master left and he's making them think they have to do drastic things to keep the world safe. So it's like if the I feel like they might just be normal, good Keyblade wielders if the Master wasn't involved in this. So they're obviously pawns in a big chess game here.
Well, yeah, they're all obviously pawns in a big chess game. That is very clearly something that the master is doing. He is just manipulating everyone into what he personally wants and the outcomes that he wants. But I don't know. Something about just the vibes that the Forteller have tells me that they are not to be trusted, right? In any capacity, right? Except for arguably Ava, right? Ava is probably the only person I can look at, be like, you know what? You're different, right? You're different. You clearly will, while the others may have subconsciously defied the master, you genuinely defied him. You actively went against what he told you to do. Because he told you to give the Book of Prophecies to Ephemer. He told you to give certain things to certain people, and you actively chose someone else in the hopes of changing the predetermined outcome.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up Ava here because Ava, when it comes to the foretellers, Ava has way more love and like interest put into her story than I think the rest of the rest of them do. Because like even when you talk about the roles, like everyone else's roles seem very minor at the moment. I'm sure that they're going to do the Union Cross thing in KH4 where they're like, oh, but there's more. I like that Union Cross did it because it added to the story, but it was also like, really? Okay. But Ava's role covers so many layers. Like, you could argue she's the reason the Guardians. Well, I mean, not even argue. She is the reason the Guardians are even around right now. Her role was literally keeping Light alive. The other characters were like, yeah, well, when Ira steps up, you're the real leader. Like Gula, you have this lost page, which is pretty interesting. Envy's spying on people. Like I don't know. It's like everyone else had these very kind of minuscule roles that was basically like to instigate high school drama, and then it's like Ava is like, okay, so your role, you're gonna save the world for the next 1,000 years on like Ava's shoulders.
Uh, and it's funny that we're talking about Ava now, and I'm thinking, are we gonna get to the topic of where do we think Ava is right now?
um,
I personally think she is just somewhere in unreality.
I think that would make sense because if they can't find her in our realm and she hasn't shown up in our realm, she is either a character we do not know, she's already passed, or she's in Quadratum. But they ended off the epilogue, or they ended off that cutscene in the epilogue with that uh, on purpose. Some people theorize Ava is gone, and maybe she's being replaced by Skull, the most Ava-like character. And they even made that comparison in Union Cross, like, hey, you're a lot like Master Ava. But I think that I don't know. I think Quadrom's the easy answer because I don't know how she would have gone in there though. Like I think that's the big thing here. Like how would she have gone in there? But I guess that's just something that doesn't fully matter right now. What do you
Well,
think?
I pointed out in a previous video that we never actually see Ava perish in the Keyblade War, and
Yeah.
kind of just left to assume because Ava is talking about escaping to the next world. So there is a very real chance that since Ava knows about how to do that and knows that that is a genuine escape for her, the fact that there's been no mention of her word or no word of her appearances anywhere else, right? It's like, okay, well, she probably escaped to unreality in order to escape death during the Keyblade War, right? Because all the other foretellers wouldn't really know. They would assume that they would have survived if they just fought hard enough. But Ava was like, no, I know for a fact we're all gonna die.
You think Ava's that like doomy? I mean,
I'd say Ava's personality took a complete 180 the second she learned of everything from Lucio.
Yeah, I agree. I'd agree with you because she was very like she. I feel like she's a very lighthearted character. Or tries to be very lighthearted. Like you see that with her interactions with Ephemer. You see that in these flashbacks that she has with other Union leaders. Like she seems very like she's very nice. Like she's the only master that these keyboarders feel like they can actually talk to and like talk to on a equal playing field, not just like a like like teacher student vibes. Like it feels like an actual friendship, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like after that interaction with Luciu, where Luciu explained to her the events of everything, the Keyblade War, yada yada. But probably even before that, because I think in some of the flashback cutscenes leading up to that scene, um, she kind of has this tone too, where there's this deep rooted, just like sadness. And I know she has a fox mask on, but like I feel like you can see it. You can like kind of see it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like when she's looking down, her mannerisms, like it feels almost depressing, you know? Like she's trying to keep a face, keep an appearance, but deep down she is so stressed about everything. And that just comes with being like more empathetic and sympathetic towards these other characters. But I feel like especially in Union Cross, which to be fair, we don't get to see as many of the mannerisms and stuff in Union Cross to the same degree we would in like a 3D game, but she's just kind of depressed, man. Like she doesn't feel like herself, and maybe she does think that everything's like kind of hopeless a little bit, but that can't be the case because she put all these plans in place with like Brain and like giving someone the Book of Prophecies who wasn't supposed to have it. Like it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating for sure. Which bringing up Brain makes me very sad about Missing Link, but we've talked about Missing Link a lot.
We have talked about Missing Link a lot.
I mean,
So
justifiably, but yeah.
yeah. Um, so there's something I also want to think about when it comes to the foretellers and like would they essentially replace the organization as far as like possible super bosses go, like data orgs?
Yeah,
So then we have data foretellers.
dude, I've been hoping for that. A lot of people have been hoping for that since Cage, like since before Cage 3, because Key Back Cover came out what 2017, right? Like, Key Back Cover came out and was probably complete even before that. But Key Back Cover came out in 2017, 2 years before 3 came out. People were hoping like, okay, maybe these four tours are gonna have a big role in Cage 3, and Nomura kind of like, I don't know, he kind of capped when he said this. I'm probably not quoting it exactly here, but if someone like reading the or if someone like listening knows the exact quote, but I remember an interview way back in like 20, I think it was like around when Union Cross was coming out, maybe like 2015, 2016, maybe before then. Nomura was like, yeah, you're going to see like the foreteller's effect on the world throughout Cage 3, and like I guess he must have meant that in the most vague context possible because I don't think like aside from the epilogue there was much with the foretellers. You had a couple of Union Cross like cutscenes here, like the that ancient Keyblade Legacy cutscene. Very obviously a Union, that was a Union Cross like build up cutscene.
Yeah.
And you had like Marluxia, Lark scenes, death scenes, and stuff. But I don't know. Did you see any of that, like from what Nomura was saying?
Um, I'm not really sure. I have to kind of take a look again at uh all of KH3 and see if I can point out like
Yeah,
anything because like I'm good at making connections like that, but I got to rewatch everything.
yeah. I don't know. Like when he said that, I was thinking like we get more stuff like in Cage 2, where you actually, I'm sure this wasn't fully planned, right? But like you can see Twilight Town. It seems like maybe possibly like there's like some unicornist stuff going on there, you know, like from that guild because like all the unicorns and all that. going around. You can kind of make that connection. It's a very loose connection, of course, but like we have those connections to make in the Kingdom Hearts universe. But outside of that, I feel like the Fortellers, I would love to have them be bosses. And since we're done with the organization, I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't for KH4. Like, we have to fight, like, most of them at some point. Even the characters we don't fight, like, should be data bosses. I wonder, like, in what situation we're going to end up fighting them, because I don't really know how Sora ends up fighting them being in Quadroma unless he returns very soon. Because I don't know if the Foretellers are going to go to Quadratum. Like, do you think they're going to have this thing where they're looking for Ava in Quadratum? Because you mentioned that earlier, like about Ava potentially being there, and the Master knows about Quadratum or knows about the other side at least. So do you think they go searching for her?
I think what will happen is so I think with Ava, fighting her would just be like she'll be the final test for Sora to see if he's strong enough and worthy of going back to their reality. Um, just because she knows like what's in store for for him once he goes back.
Yeah.
So she's like, I have to make sure you're prepared to fight whatever could be coming your way. Right. So she could be fighting him for that. And um, when it comes to the other foretellers, I think that it's kind of just however the story gets developed to see like how fighting the other foretellers will come about. I personally think that there's a good chance that fighting the foretellers comes from like them housing darkness and then us having to take them out while housing darkness.
Yeah. Yeah. That could definitely be something.
One thing I am excited to see in a fight against the foretellers is um Ased's abilities because Ased apparently has control over space, so he can make slashes that like that draws in space and draws in everything. So like he basically controls a little bit of space and creates like little cracks or little mini black holes.
Yeah. That brings up an interesting conversation just about their abilities because, yeah, you're right. Like I said, seems to have this. I think like this kind of Earth, time, and space kind of seems to be his thing a little bit. So maybe like with that black hole move we saw when he was fighting Envy, that could be something. Envy seems to have like these water moves. We haven't really seen Ava or Era fight. Well, I think we did in Union Cross. I don't remember what their attacks looked like at all. So I don't necessarily remember what their like theming was for their attacks. But it'd be really cool just to see their fighting styles. We fought a decent bit of other Kilo Wooters in the Kingdom Hearts series, but I we've never fought Kilo Wooters like these. That's for sure. So it will be really cool. Speaking of kind of power and their abilities, what's the power scaling you think? You think these characters are gonna come in and be like, oh, we're so much stronger than any Kilo you've ever faced before? I mean, they kind of have to be if they're going to be the villains. They're going to be good antagonists. But you know how me and you are. Me and you really like to think that Sora, Riku, our current Kilos, they're pretty strong because I mean, I guess the foretellers went through war, but I still want to think, and maybe I'm biased towards the characters I grew up with, but I almost want to think our keyloaders might have had it a little bit harder, in my opinion, because they've done all of this over basically a year to 2 years. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. Like I feel like Sora's pretty strong. Like I want to think he can handle the foretellers because I feel like I don't be seeing them fighting like that. I don't be seeing them going on missions, bro. Like I don't be seeing them. I don't be seeing them doing the 9 to 5 grind for Lux like I was the player in Union Cross, right? But I don't know. I don't know, man. Like they looking a little weak sauce to me, a little easy pickings. But that wouldn't make for an entertaining game if we just one shot these guys.
I think so. I think when it comes to their powers and their abilities and how strong they are, I think it's safe to assume that they are still on a completely different level from everyone else.
Yeah.
Like even with like the top contenders in the Guardians of Light, that being like Sora, Riku, Mickey, they still can't compete with the Foretellers. They're just that strong. Right. So I think it would be, I think a nice way to do it would just be like having Mickey or Riku or Sora, obviously someone with like merit in their strength. So like beating them is like no easy task, right? And they just get washed, like they get
Probably
folded,
it's going to be Mickey. Mickey's getting
right?
he's in Scala, bro. He's getting folded. Let's be real.
Like,
He's in like past Daybreak Town,
and
essentially.
I'd say Mickey is the strongest person on the Guardian. So if he gets folded, that says a lot.
Yeah, Mickey's getting kidnapped. Uh, you know, I guess an argument I could see for their power scaling. Kingdom Hearts isn't much of a power scaling type series because Cage characters are broken, but if you are trying to power scale, they're broken. They're absolutely broken. It's because power systems like what Kingdom Hearts has basically just infinite. Like the power system of Kingdom Hearts is characters are as strong as their hearts are, and that is a ever evolving thing that doesn't really have a limit to it. So like it basically means whatever happens happens. Like think things that Mickey scene in Remind where Mickey is limping, bro. He is limping like forward, and then he does the freaking spirit sword from freaking Super from Dragon Ball, just completely wiping out all these Xehanorts that all the Guardians together were struggling with, and he just does it by himself through just some like power of his heart stuff. He just absolutely cooks them, and is able to hold back like he's able to solo a beam struggle against them. Like it's absolutely broken. He had a little bit of help from Sora though, of course, but he's absolutely broken. Fortellers are going to beat Mickey, so they're probably pretty strong. I guess an argument you can make for their power scaling is even though our keyloaders are extremely powerful, we are self-taught Keyblade wielders for the most part, right? Like Ericus did train like Terra, Ventus, Aqua, but past that, Riku, Sora mostly learned just on the fly. Kyrie was trained by Merlin. Mickey was trained a little bit by Yen Sid. Well, I guess a couple of them did have trainers. Now I'm thinking about it, but like I don't know, Sora and Riku, they learned on the fly.
In the Guardians, I say the ones that actually had actual Keyblade training, like formal Keyblade training, which Yensid claims like that's the proper way,
Yeah,
is Mickey, Terra, Aqua, somewhat Ventus, and I think that's it because Lee and Kyrie were self-taught, Sora and Riku were self-taught, and Roxas and Shion were self-taught.
yeah. I like to think that maybe because the foretellers are in a time period where basically everyone's a Keyblade. Like your neighbor next door is a Keyblade wielder. Like that guy across the street that's like annoying you is a Keyblade wielder. Where in a society where everyone has a Keyblade, I guess knowledge is spread more easily, right? So like I could see a potential avenue where the foretellers are actually more in tune with their hearts than maybe even Sora and them are. Like they can wield the heart strength better, which basically would equate to them being more powerful. So I could see something like that because maybe they just have more knowledge, more techniques, yada yada, and that's what makes them stronger. Let's talk a little bit about the Master of Masters because he. I mean, that's everyone's favorite topic in the Kingdom Hearts community, to be honest, when it comes to theories. Who is the Master? Well, what is he? Well, what is his role in all of this? Why did he
I
not?
can't read him and it upsets me.
Why did he return in Quadratum, like in the secret ending, and why wasn't he there in the epilogue? Because I mean, they confirmed that he's back. He's back now. He wasn't. He didn't return there. I'm sure he didn't even need to be summoned or anything. He was just lurking around the whole time. He was probably in the background somewhere, and like I don't know, in Remind or in the Keyblade Graveyard finale. But what is he doing? Like, what is his thing with Quadratum at this point? Is something I'm very interested in.
I think there's a real chance that the master wants to live in a world where he and no one else had to or have to suffer anything that he had to deal with when it came to um darkness and Keyblade Wars and light versus darkness. So for him, a world he can't even conceive is his ideal world, which is a world absent of light and darkness, and that's unreality. Um, so possibly what he's because he basically already like is foregoing Sora's reality. He's like, nah, this world's done for, right? This world's done. So he could be like because he also understands that in a world with no light and no darkness, darkness more than likely can't infect people. So if darkness can't infect people, it's at a more vulnerable state. So it's much easier for him to kill the darkness and then he'll just live out his life in a world free of light and darkness.
Yeah, the weird I don't even know if I want to say contradiction of like Quadratum is that it's a world without light and darkness because in the literal first trailer we see of Quadratum, darkness appears. So it's like, did Sora bring it here? Or does it just exist in a different form? Maybe like the karma thing that is on the back of Veramex's box art. I I don't know. I'm genuinely at a loss for it. And what you said about the master earlier, you're like, if you're a type of person, Noir, where if I ask you about a theory, or if I ask you like your thoughts on X character, Y character, where do you think the story is going to go, you almost always have a answer, a path. So for you to even say you cannot read the master says a lot, and I think it's a good thing because it's like the master, along with Union Cross and Yazora, I would say it really it brought this mystery to Kingdom Hearts that was really needed.
It was in need of it, I will say that.
Yeah, like the master, I feel like us having no idea who he is, us having no idea what his motives really are, and it feels like every time we get an inch, there's like another mile to go. It's like the master in that one cutscene cross during the finale where he explains to Lucio his role, or he explains to Lucio his role, and he also talks about like his true plan, his safety net, and all this and that to have the Fortellers harbor the seven strongest forms of darkness within them, and then have them be defeated. Like Lucio took this initially as them sacrificing themselves, like, and they're like, "Whoa, we didn't sign up for that. What the heck?" But the Masters claim he has a safety plan in place, but does he really? Because like, can he really be trusted? A guy that put all of the foretellers, all of these friends against each other, pitting them all against each other. Is it morally okay to let all these people, die? All these Keyblade wielders, maybe some of his friends, perhaps. Like, is it okay to make all these sacrifices for the bigger picture of defeating darkness? And these semantics are it's such a hard story to tell, but it's such an interesting one, which is why I hope they nail it right. People who have been clocked out of Kingdom Hearts' story since Birth by Sleep, since Kingdom Hearts 2, are very interested in the Master. And a lot of it is in part to Ray Chase just having doing an amazing job, like performing as the character. But also just the character's writing and who he is so interesting because he's the closest thing in the entire series, aside from Kingdom Hearts itself, to a origin point in the franchise. I love that. Like, there's so much you could say if there's nothing you could say at all. That basically sums them up in a nutshell.
And you know what? It's so funny because when I try to analyze things that the master says, I always come across this one quote that when he says that, it throws my entire analysis mindset out the window. He says, "The truth is what you see with your eyes, not what you hear." And I'm like, did they put this in here to tell us we can't trust anything he says, but rather we have to go by what we see him do?
Maybe it might be something like that. What do you think is in the box? I know we talked a little bit about this, but what do you think is his upset? Like, is the box even going to be that important? Because it's been
So
almost 10
the way I
years
see
since
it,
it was
the way
introduced.
the way I see it, it's either two extremes. It's either the seven darknesses or like an absurd amount of light, like probably light in its purest form. And the reason why I think it could be darkness is because when you look at the box, there are 13 locks, right?
Yeah.
And six of them are on the sides, and then seven of them are in the front. And you also look at, because I pointed out in the video that there are 13 spikes that point outwards, but then there are seven spikes that point inward. Um, and I always thought that was like an interesting design. Not to mention the box is black, so that could be reflecting it housing darkness. But at the same time, its coloration lets me think it could be light because the box has the exact same color scheme as the Keyblade of People's Hearts that Riku used in Kingdom Hearts 1, and that was a Keyblade made of hearts of pure light.
Insane how many like theories and how much speculation comes just from analyzing the design of the box itself. And some things can be coincidental in Kingdom Hearts, but like even the coincidental things, the fact that they exist and can be built up off of later is insane. It shows you just how much care went into even the outside design of the box. Not to, and one thing you didn't even mention is it has X Super Ran on it.
I have no idea what to make of the X Super thing. I really don't.
No idea, because what would the Master's sin be if like
Pride, which is in Latin, it's superbia.
yeah, actually insane, dude. Like it's crazy because we still don't know the answers to like a lot of these questions, and I hope so badly that KH4 can give us at least some of them. But you know the whole loop of asking for answers in Kingdom Hearts, we get more questions. But despite that, I actually do think Kingdom Hearts 3 answered a lot of questions about the series. I think what happened though with KH3 is well, I don't even know if I'd say it created more questions either. It did. It created a lot of questions with Quadratum, with Verum Rex. It created a lot of new questions with Subject X. But I think a lot of the majority of the big theories from Kingdom Hearts were kind of summed up in three. But on top of three, you had all this lore from Union Cross just like surmounting on top of it. So it's like it's got replaced. Like any questions we had pre Key Saga have now been replaced with Key Saga questions or Verum Rex questions. And I love it, to be honest, because if you're a big Key Saga fan, you know that one of the most loved things about the Key Saga is how mysterious it is and how it almost feels like if you're a big fan of the story of Kingdom Hearts, it's like a story fans theme park, man, of just theories and speculation and like lore. And we've been discussing these things for years, almost a decade, and hopefully four can come out, man, by 2027 at least, so we can move forward. That's why the wait's been so rough for four. That is exactly why, because like we've been sitting on this Union Cross stuff for years, bro, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I need answers.
I
I
need
need
him,
answers
man.
now.
I need him. I need him, man. Um. So Do you think like the Lost Master saga? How long do you think it's going to be? Because these guys have a whole saga named after them. I wonder if it's going to change over time because we didn't even know of the Dark Seeker saga as the Dark Seeker saga. I think until like after Dream Drop, to be honest. But
It wasn't called the Dark Seeker Saga until Birth by Sleep.
yeah, like around there, like it took a while for Nomura to officially call it the Dark Seeker saga.
And it was because of an Ultimedia interview where Nomura had specified he was like no, Kingdom Hearts 3 will not be the last game in the series. It's actually just the end of the Xehanort or Dark Seeker saga. Um, so when looking at the Lost Masters saga, obviously I don't think it should be the same length as the Darkseeker saga because the Darkseeker saga did most of the world building so that the rest of the games didn't have to. So I think it'll probably last 3 to 5 games. I think
3 to 5.
five. I think five is a solid number if you ask me. Five.
I don't know. Okay, so like you think this is the last saga of Kingdom Hearts, though? You don't think it's going to
Yes,
transition
I
into
do. I
like?
do think this is
Okay,
the last saga of Kingdom
I
Hearts.
I agree. I a couple of years ago I would have been like this is the part one to like what will eventually be like the darknesses because I still think the darknesses are going to be those are the villains that end the series in my opinion. I think the series ends with the all-out war against the darknesses, like the I know it sounds so crazy because imagine someone listening to this podcast not knowing a single thing about Union Cross or not knowing much about it, didn't finish it. They're like, the darknesses. What do you mean by that? There are literal beings in Kingdom Hearts. There's enemies that were revealed at the, or not revealed, but they came into fruition even more at the end of Union Cross. It's a being of seven. No, wait. Is it, how many darknesses is it?
Like total?
Yeah, like there's seven really strong darknesses, and then
There's the
there's
so there's seven really powerful ones, but there's 13 total.
13 total. Yeah, so like the 13 strong, like strongest forms of darkness in general, um, and they're not even characters. They're not org members. They're not any characters with a face. They're a hive mind of literal darkness, like the blob that is darkness. That's what they are. I think they end the franchise some way somehow. They end the franchise. Vanitas was one of them. Vanitas harbored one of them, and that's why
Well,
people think.
Vanitas is one of them.
Well, yeah, yeah, like Vanitas is one of them. Um, I wonder when the pivot from the foretellers and the master being the antagonists turns into like the darknesses being the antagonist, or if what happens is like the foretellers maybe do like put darkness in their heart, but they lose. They succumb to it. They're not strong enough to fight it or defeat it. They completely succumb to it, and maybe that happens to our guardians as well. Like, it's possible. Maybe
That
like
actually
after.
made me think of something.
Let's hear it.
So the way you worded it, it actually made me think like when you think about it, the foretellers have zero tolerance for darkness in their hearts, right? Their tolerances or ability to withstand darkness is probably non-existent because they had worked so hard to keep darkness from getting close to their hearts at all, right? Similar to Sora pre-KH3, right? There was little room for darkness to show up in his heart. So obviously, when Sora falls into a pitfall surrounding darkness, he is ill prepared for it. Unlike Riku, who has amazing tolerances for darkness now, like no one can hope to have him fall to darkness in the same way that other people can because he built up that resistance.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's a good point there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the darknesses they're going to be really strong. I really wonder when they're going to pivot to them because Like
The
originally,
Darknesses probably won't be like a major antagonist in our faces until near the end.
that's what I'm thinking. Like I was thinking like Kingdom Hearts 5, but I feel like they still have to build it up, right? Like I was thinking KH4, Lost Masters game, maybe 5-2. Verimax is somewhere in there, and like some way somehow all this has to connect because you have all this lore going on with the Fortellers, the box, the darknesses, and then Quadratum, this world of unreality. Like how does Versus 13 like fit into all of this? Like it doesn't make any sense, dude. How do these plot points converge? Like in the slightest. Like it's odd. It's very odd.
So yeah, I think that the first half will be going up against the foretellers, and then once they realize who the true enemy is, they all like might work together.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely. Who is your favorite foreteller, and who is the master of masters? Like, if you had to say like like your definitive take on who he is and what your favorite foreteller is.
Favorite foreteller, definitely Ava. And who do I think the master is? I think the master is just a guy whose name we don't know yet. Like he's not
Original character.
like he's a totally original character.
Okay. If he's an original character, why do you think they blurred his name out?
Because it's not for us to know. Same reason that we didn't know Xemnas' name until it was time. Same with Terra or young Xehanort.
You know, that's very fair. That's honestly extremely fair. Like that's a really good perspective to have on it because yeah, they didn't tell us Xemnas' name and they didn't even show us Xemnas really until midway through KH2. So like after the battle. And then with young Xehanort, we didn't find out it was young Xehanort until I think the end, right?
Correct.
Even though it was very, very freaking obvious, like it was this younger Xehanort. But I remember throughout the room, they tried to make it seem like, oh, after Xemnas, after Ansem, after Birth by Sleep with Xehanort, and then seeing Terranort, like it's a character. Like you know who this is. You know what I mean? Like you know who this probably is. Uh, Shoot, I guess for me, my favorite is obviously Ava, Volpius Union. And then who I think the master is. I want him to be literally anyone but Sora, but especially a original character because I think that would be the most interesting. Get a new voice. I mean, shoot, keep Ray Chase. Like if it's not like I don't know. Like I feel like for someone else, why is Ray Chase doing the work? You know what I mean? Like like I don't know. I want Ray Chase to be the voice of the master until the series ends. Period. So yeah. Um, Well, I guess that's it for me. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, no, that's it.
All right. Well, I enjoyed this talk because I really like talking about the foretellers and the master. Next episode, we're going to talk about the darknesses and a little bit of quadratum. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching the podcast lately. It means a lot to your boy. Trying to make the podcast a lot more consistent. I know we've been mostly consistent with the podcast, but we definitely go through stints. Like there's a month here or a couple weeks here where we don't upload, but I want to try to make it a like very consistent, like at least like 2 to 3 times a month thing, and uploading it consistently on Spotify. I have some announcements regarding the podcast soon, actually, that I'm gonna let you guys know about. But thank you guys for watching today, and until next time, my name is Prodigy,
My name's Lil Bomber.
and remember to be nice, be safe, and take care, everyone. Y'all have a good night.